Everybody has to have a website. I remember when websites first came and I was like, oh my God, what is this thing? It's like a business card, but it's online. And then everybody started to make websites that looked like business cards and brochures. And then something happened. This little thing called funnels came about. And all of a sudden everybody was like, oh, I don't need a website, I need a funnel. But you want to know what? The website is not dead. And today's guest, Christine Walker, is the queen of websites. She actually wrote a book called PHYSIOSecrets. She is the owner of Christine Walker Physical Therapy, which treats gymnasts, and she is the master at building physical therapy websites that convert. And I'm talking about classic physical therapy websites that actually behave like funnels. So when people land on your website, they know exactly who they are and why they should be there. In other words, are you the right clinic for them? Are they the right patient for you? And the website actually drives people towards knowing you, liking you, and trusting you before you ever ask for the sale, so that conversion becomes super, super simple. I had a chance to catch up with Christine. The interview is a little bit noisy because we're in a hallway, and I apologize in advance that my audio is just a little bit blown out, but we live and we learn. Either way, this information is awesome. I can't wait for you to hear the interview with Christine Walker. Hello and welcome to the PHYSIOMission podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jared Cooper. This podcast is dedicated to helping young, aspiring physical therapists navigate the muddy waters of what has now become our profession. I want to help you maximize your impact, your income, and your freedom. Throughout this podcast, I'll be interviewing mentors, clinical gurus, and successful business owners who have paved the way and shown us how it's done. Along the way, I'll also be sharing with you some secrets to my own success and how I started a private practice from scratch, developed an amazing team, and built and grew it to a 7-figure business. So without further ado, let our mission begin. I have with me the pleasure of sitting with the most amazing Christine Walker, author of the PT website Secret System, which I have a copy of and am amazed by the content that's in there and how relevant it is to physical therapists in trying to grow their practice and set up their website, which is obviously one of the many things we do not learn in physical therapy school.
Are you kidding? They didn't teach you that?
Yeah, seriously. So let's start, as we should, with just your origin story and how you ended up doing this as opposed to just being in the clinic, busting your hands.
Yeah, totally. So I went to PT school with no ideas of entrepreneurship, no ideas of doing something different other than actually being a physical therapist. Graduated feeling that way, and started working straight out of school, and found myself like, I'm kind of tired at the end of the day all the time, and I don't really like this as much as I thought I would. And I had an inkling of that in my rotations, but those things come to an end pretty quickly, and then you're like, all right, next. So how did I get to the point where I pivoted? So I actually, the first main pivot for me was after the birth of my first child. I actually had bed rest and, you could say, a complete postpartum psychiatric crash for a year. So
you and my wife.
Okay, I'm not alone.
No, yeah, and she went through some pretty harsh postpartum depression, and I think in many ways, she'll even tell you she's still trying to come out of it in the sense because it hits so hard and it's not talked about and it can really affect you. And she was, thank God, not really working professionally at the time,
Sure.
But I can see how that could have a huge impact on your life.
Huge impact on your ability to, I couldn't get out of bed for a long time. So imagine what that looks like. I've just been on bed rest for 3 months, like strict bed rest.
Right.
And now I'm still stuck in bed because I can't even fathom getting out of bed, even though I was like, I'm going to do everything when I'm done with this baby. I'm so sick of being in bed, and it hits you like a rock.
So the universe forced your hand a little bit. And I think for a lot of my listeners, the podcast is called the PHYSIOMission podcast because it's dedicated to helping clinicians sort of find their path in a way, right? Find their passion and turn it into a profit. And for you kind of didn't have a choice at this point in time, but to pivot a little bit.
To be completely honest, I feel like, for me, I feel like God really directed me very clearly, and whatever you believe in, I do think you need to listen to it. Because I'm on my 3rd time of that happening as of being sick this spring and being forced to just be in bed for weeks. And it always points you in a new direction if you listen and if you pay attention to what maybe you're doing too much of and what you need to be doing more of. So I feel like in my life, apparently, to get my attention, I have to be literally knocked down.
Right.
Flat, horizontal.
Hopefully everyone doesn't have to have
I hope
that
not
kind of
for
experience,
everybody,
right?
but apparently I'm that tough-headed that I have to be literally laid down. So after my first child, I ended up starting a cash-based clinic, and I thought that's what I want to do. I love working with youth athletes and active adults. Like, that's what I'm going to go focus on, and that was going really well until I realized the healthy me always wanted a second child. So once I was feeling better from the first child, the healthy me always wanted that second baby. And so we waited 3 years between kids. I started my cash practice, and then I don't even remember. I don't remember the specific months, but year and a half later, it's like, well, I've got this really new business, but I still want to have another baby.
So suffice it to say, timing was not on your side for starting a practice.
Heck no!
But you started it anyway,
I
which
did.
I think is very, very brave and courageous, because when I started my practice, I definitely was not in that kind of state of turmoil, and it was still hard.
Yeah.
And you had all of that weight on your back and that life situation, and you got through it. So good on you for that.
Let's be honest, self-motivation plus having the Sherpa to guide you up Everest.
Right.
So
that's what it takes.
I could have not done it without investing in myself and getting coaches to guide me on the way who'd been there before. To be 100,
who was your biggest influencer at that time?
At that time, Paul Goff has been my biggest influencer.
Amazing. He actually was on the podcast yesterday.
Yay,
yes.
Fantastic. So I've worked with him for almost 3 years, and he's the type of coach I need. I knew it from the start.
Yep.
And he kicks me into gear and gets me to get the stuff done, but not just get stuff done, get the right stuff done.
Yeah, we actually talked about that earlier today. I was talking with Paul about this idea of having the largest crowbar you can possibly have.
Yeah.
And you can take fast action and pick up the small crowbar near you, but if you can take some time to meditate and find the largest one that has the biggest amount of leverage, you can get a hell of a lot more done in a short amount of time.
Absolutely. So the first child led me to cash practice. And the second child and activity restrictions led me to realize that, things are going well in my cash practice, but I'm hustling all the time.
Right.
And you can't hustle very well on bed rest. And all my marketing was relying on me meeting people in person, me holding, some kind of workshop or gathering, me being present at the gym to speak with more parents to get more gymnasts. It all depended on me being able and capable of being up and working hard.
Right, as Greg talked today about being the implementer and just doing that over and over and over.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was still stuck in a lot of implementer mode, and I realized that was going to be the choke point in my business if I didn't find another way to market.
Again, your hand was sort of like forced a little bit, and you again took the bull by the horns and decided to go the route of helping people with their websites. Now,
well, the funny thing is I started by helping myself.
Okay.
So I had the realization on that bed rest.
How did you know how to do it at that point?
Well, I didn't.
Okay. Well, how'd you learn it then?
So, inspired by Paul and all I'd learned about lead generation marketing, I really went to look for the how do I do this myself plan, and it didn't exist. Now, so when I created the system, it was the PHYSIOSecrets system. I didn't realize I was creating it, if that makes sense. So I knew my clinic had gotten 0 new leads on my website the last year. 0. Okay, that's a big fat donut,
statistic.
right? Okay. So, and I'm thinking, that's a major problem, because just because we're PTs doesn't mean we can't get new leads offline. People in every industry get new leads offline. Why are we not doing it, right? And why are we not more aware that we can do it? I mean, we're so content to revert back to, I tried to hold a workshop, or I tried to put a Facebook ad out, or I tried to just talk to a doctor. We think that that's us trying to market. And what people don't realize is even when their mom recommends a new restaurant, they still look at the menu online before they go.
Right.
So your website's more than just a marketing tool. It's actually your home base, and it's the only one you control.
Now let me ask you a tough question, because a lot of people now are keen to the concept of funnels and landing pages,
love funnels.
right?
Yeah.
So first of all, for the listener that doesn't know the difference, can you just explain the difference between a website and a landing page /funnel? And resolve the doubt that some people have that landing page, that websites are quote unquote dead. You hear in the marketing world, websites are dead, because Russell says it, so it must be true. So, but can you resolve for us, A, the difference between the two, just so people know, and then why is the website still alive? Why is it still important?
Well, that's actually funny. I would actually, some of my slides say websites are dead.
Okay.
And here's why. What I teach is actually not just websites. Now, it may say websites on the book.
Right,
let's be honest.
That's
what people know.
Absolutely.
Right? You say the word funnel and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, Russell's done a great job getting out there, but still the larger population has no clue.
Sure.
So really what I'm teaching, in a sense, is people who have website problems know they have a problem, but they don't know what the solution is. And my solution that I propose is actually an online employee.
Okay.
So the idea that, and inside of it are funnels and all those elements.
Sure.
Okay. But the idea that we can put you and your company and that representation online to be working for you 24/7, even if you're sleeping, even if you're on vacation, to almost be like either you online or like your personal admins up there, attracting people, talking to people, starting the conversation, even when you're not physically there. And so if you can get your website to start working more like an online employee.
Now, are you talking about like a chat bot in the corner, or
Nope.
just the copy on the website?
I mean the entire website.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Having a conversation through images, through visuals, through stories on the website, like they're talking to an employee. Videos, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have to transform this from just a website to actually an online employee, which includes funnels, includes landing pages, includes all those things. But it is so much more than website, because really most websites are just a brochure or a business card, and that's it.
Right.
Call now, book now.
Right.
Oh my gosh, if any of you have those on there, take them off right now.
Now, for the techies out there, I'm going to ask a couple of technical questions, right?
Yeah.
So how many calls to action on a given website should one have? Is it limited to one, or I've seen sometimes you have people that have a couple of different options. Do you like driving people into one thing or a couple of different things depending on like what's right for them?
Here's the thing, you got to realize that the people who visit your website are all coming in at different places, right? Like not everybody who's in the restaurant or on the beach has the same life story. They've been burned in certain ways by some people. They have weird opinions of physical therapy or whatever your online business is, just because they don't understand what it is. So you have to be willing to meet people where they're at. And to capture the most people from your website, you've got to be willing to understand that there's what I call the 15% and the 85%. 1 or 2 people who visit your website out of 10 are at the point where they're like, I kind of know what physical therapy is. I'm looking for the one I'm going to call, I'm a hot buyer.
Right.
Okay? You have to have options for them. But then on the flip side, you got to realize.
People are ready to go, you mean?
Because you don't want to miss those.
Exactly.
But the problem is most of us stop there. And the fortune is in the ability to be able to attract and nurture and grow the 85% into leads and then patients.
Okay.
So those are the people who are skeptical, confused, been burned in the past, don't trust you, they're nervous, they don't want to pick up the phone, they need other options, they maybe need something for free first, etc. And if you can build out options for them as well on your website, you're going to succeed. Now, does that mean go put 20 options on? No. We need a couple for the hot leads and then some for the colder leads, okay? That way, you are giving everybody something to take a step forward, who at least is thinking about taking a step forward. As we've talked about this conference, I talked about in my talk, not everyone's helpable.
Right.
They're not. And that's okay. We have to get over the notion of we can't help everybody. And that is so important because, of course, we all want it. We're PTs, we're giving people, we all want to help everybody, dang it, no matter if it's in a PT clinic or something else.
Sure.
And being okay with the fact that not everybody's helpable. And saying, all right, call me back in a year when you're ready to make a change.
Right.
Go listen to my podcast right now.
And letting go of the people that are
and it's not letting them go completely. It's realizing it's a not yet.
Okay.
And planting the seeds for then, if they ever decide they want help, which they may not, but if they ever do, you want to plant the seeds so they choose you.
Absolutely. How important is it to nurture after that first contact on your website?
You better be doing it as soon as possible.
Yeah, and then what strategies do you recommend a lot? Like what are some of the most common strategies that you recommend, or mistakes that you see that then lead to strategies or solutions?
So the biggest mistake I see too, actually, is people build these websites and then one assume that they're done, they never have to look at it again.
Right.
I could do a whole 1 hour talk on that.
Right.
And the second one is realizing that even though they got their website up and working for them, people are like, why aren't they becoming patients? And I'm like, well, when did you make contact with this person who inquired? Oh, like a week later. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at it, like, what do you think? Right? So we talk about, it's funny, we talk about it in my courses and stuff, but it's amazing how many people don't actually take the action. And that is realizing that the moment someone either opts in or tries to text or call or whatever they're doing, whether they're hot or cold, that's the moment when they're most interested.
They're in the most amount of pain or need at that moment.
Because they've decided to do something about
Right.
it. And that's when you need to get up with them. Now, I know some people are like, well, I'm a solo, whatever. Great. Well, first thing as soon as you're done with your patients for the day or during your lunch break. I mean, it's worth your time to make that follow-up a priority. Because
can you do that follow-up automated, or do you recommend doing it every single time in person?
So here's the thing, a lot of people
try
try to rely on the email sequence,
right.
which I recommend it wholeheartedly. But the problem is you can't rely on that email sequence. That email sequence is very unlikely to actually make someone pick up the phone, very unlikely to actually, which let's think about this. If you're trying to get patients in this case, is somebody going to book without talking to you? No, it's very, you might get a few exceptions,
right?
But it's very low.
Right.
Like, would you go to
So you like using the sort of like the website as the digital attractor and the one that speaks to the person that converts to an analog conversation with the person?
Yes.
Online to offline.
Exactly. The great irony is we build this amazing website to try to get them offline as soon as possible. Like, even if you're using live chat, you should only go back and forth a couple times before it's great, let's get on the phone.
And then you go back online with this follow-up sequence that might come a little bit later to nurture them, but they've already had that interaction.
Ideally. I mean, they get in my practice, they would get an immediate response via email too.
Yep.
But, like I said, that's just in the background to remind them that you exist.
Right.
The real fortune comes from getting them on the phone and getting nothing more than them to tell you what's going on.
I want to change gears a little bit and talk about the niche. Now, one epiphany that I had this weekend was I always thought that niche meant that you take a lot of people and you target fewer of those people by demographic, geographic, psychographic, whatever. And the epiphany that I had this weekend was that the niche isn't in the people that you're targeting, it's more in the message that you're sending out. And that really niche marketing is more about making sure that your message is niche so that you can attract the right people. Is that on base? Is that a right way to think about it? Or do you have a better model or a clearer model to help people understand, first of all, what the concept of niche marketing is? Because I tell you, my biggest fear with niching my practice undoubtedly is, well, if I niche, I cut down the pool of people I have to market to, right? So that's always what kept me away from niching. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it because you are an expert on the topic.
Well, this is one of the things that most business owners don't want to do because they're afraid, like, I need more people, why would I cut down on the pool, right? But if you really look at who's the most successful in business, what do you find?
You find people have a niche.
They have a niche, darn it. It is a delicate balance, I will say that. And I've had multiple conversations with clients and with leads about what's the right amount of niche. And it is true, it is a balance and a process that having someone help you work through is definitely beneficial. Because you have to realize, before you really pick out your niche, to be 100% honest, you have to figure out what you're trying to get out of your business. Okay, so for example,
what, in other words, do you mean what are you niching for, or what is the purpose of that business in your life?
Both.
Or both.
So the example here is, I've got some guys who want to work with powerlifting, okay? But there's 3 of them in the practice. And I said, great. Now you tell me, looking at your market, are there enough power lifters for you to fill 3 people's schedule?
Out of curiosity, what was their answer?
They thought of it, they said, oh. They were like, I think you're right, I don't think there is.
Right, the market's too small.
So, you can be too big, you can be too small, depending on what you're wanting. If you're wanting to see 5 patients a week as a mom who stays home and gets 5 hours a week, you could totally niche down way more, right? As this business has grown, as the PT Website Secrets business has grown, I've made that decision. Like, my website's completely changed now. It's niched down to gymnastics because I don't see a full schedule anymore. I see 3 to 5 people a week.
Right. So let me kind of say back what you're saying. Let me see if I got it right. If you don't know what you want out of your business, it's hard to know how big your niche or target audience needs to be. Do you need to be seeing 5 people a day, or do you need to be seeing 20 people a day? And if you need to be seeing more people, you have to be careful about niching too tightly because you cut your audience size down too far.
Exactly.
But if you have it too broad and you're trying to speak to everybody, your marketing becomes less effective, and that drops your people as well. So it's almost like a bell curve. Like, there's this sweet spot right in the middle. You need to niche enough to talk to the right person that they know them and they feel understood, but not too niche down that you cut the market so much that there isn't a pool to pull from.
You got it.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You got
That's
it.
really cool.
So with these guys, I said, great, how can we take it just a hair step back so that you guys have full schedules?
So what'd they do?
So they're talking as a business right now about it, but
Okay.
they're thinking at least now it's like, okay, maybe not powerlifters, but there might be enough people in the barbell community. So, which would start to include things like
Powerlifters, wannabe powerlifters, CrossFitters, Spartans.
Exactly.
Yeah,
He's like, with our audience and with where we're looking at having our, physical, like they're changing locations right now, it's like there might be enough there. But they now know if there's not, then they need to figure out what's the next little layer we can go out.
So along those lines, how important is it to have a business name that speaks directly to your niche?
It's like asking, does the logo matter, to be 100%?
In a way, yeah. In other words, if I'm going to start from scratch, right? A lot of my listeners might be in that really, really early stage, and they struggle with what's my name, what's my logo, that kind of thing, right? And now my thought on it always was, well, if you know who your customer is, and you know what they might want to hear or look at, like barbell physical therapy, I don't know if that name exists, but that tells the audience what it is that you do. Mm-hmm. Is that important, or is the concept of the logo and the name a fallacy, and it's all about the message and what you put out?
Look, the logo and the name, when you become a $10 million company, maybe matters more, because a lot of your branding changes when you get to a huge, big level.
Right.
Okay? So like, you think of the hospital systems who are making even more than that, right? They're just throwing their name and logo out everywhere so that people recognize it. I mean, that is essentially, if you look at it, practically the majority of their marketing strategy.
Right, so awareness marketing.
They can spend millions on it and not care, okay? We're not in that boat as startups. And to be 100% honest, I always live in the life of pivoting, apparently. And so I had faced with the same decision. And there's 2 things you got to realize. One, if you're not starting because of that and thinking about it for 2 months, oh my gosh, just use your name and go for it. Like, don't be held back by this. I didn't even, this ridiculousness.
I was coaching a young physical therapist last year, and she was at that point of, what do I call it? And she had a name for it that to this day I don't love, but it was a name that sounded grandiose. I said, no, just call it your name, physical therapy. Because it has, look, Paul Goff is one of the most successful PTs around.
Paul Goff Physio.
Paul Goff Physio Rooms, right? I mean, there's something to be said for that personal thing. People don't want to, the whole reason they're coming to somebody like us is they don't want to go buy the big brands. They want to buy you. And if you don't put you at the front and center of that whole thing, then they just feel like they're going to the hospital. They might as well just go to the hospital at that point in time.
You can get cute and all that jazz, but to be 100% honest, I like the flexibility of my clinic's Christine Walker Physical Therapy. It's a little bit of a mouthful because my name's so dang long.
But Walker's a cool freaking name.
Oh, well, thanks. What's really funny? I was such a, how do I say this? I was so naive about marketing when I came into the whole idea of starting this. I actually, when I worked in the hospital, had a doctor come in and look at my name tag and said, that's funny. I said, why? What's funny about my name? He goes, oh, well, you're a walker and all you do is walk people all day.
That guy's an asshole.
He's a total, yeah. But to be honest, it turned me off from like, I can't name it walker physical therapy.
Oh, because you're afraid of the stigma of like people with a walker.
I was.
I didn't even think of that till you
mentioned it. Well, no, the truth is it's a dumb reason. Like I should have, I could have shortened in my name by just easily being Walker PT.
Right.
And instead I threw
it's more like Skywalker.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, it's a cool name.
Exactly.
Right.
Especially if you're a Star Wars fan.
So basically the point of this conversation is don't be afraid to put yourself front and center. Don't be afraid to put your name on it. And don't obsess over the name either.
And don't be afraid that you have to be cute. I mean, you can if you want, if you really have the perfect name, but please do not delay starting off the fact you cannot figure out what you want to name yourself. Just throw your name on there and go with it.
If we were to just say, okay, Christine, you have one piece of advice. You only get to pick one thing to tell somebody when they're starting their practice about starting a website or maybe the branding component of it. What would that piece of advice be?
Well, we've already covered the niche thing, which, to be 100% honest, really is kind of the number one thing you have to figure out. You don't have to figure it out for your business name. You don't have to figure it out for your logo. But when it comes to your marketing, if you really don't know who you want to attract and who you want to scare away, and I say that boldly as if you're not scaring people away on the website, you're also not going to win people either. Okay? Because people aren't attracted to the generalist, right? They're attracted to somebody who's solved their problem 1,000 times.
In a way.
Yeah. You need to be polar. You need to have, if you know what a bounce rate is, which is just how many people have landed on the site and don't take action and hop off.
Right.
You actually need to have a bounce rate of some kind. Otherwise, crap ain't working.
Right.
I mean, it's just not.
People are hanging out, but they might not be buying either.
They're not buying either.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They're not motivated enough. They're just like, oh, cool website or something.
So what I'm hearing is basically you got to take a stand.
You do have to take a stand. You have to put your flagpole down. Be like, you know what? Here's who I really help well. And if you're struggling with this in your life, like I'm your girl or guy.
Love it. Let's talk about how people get a hold of the book.
Sure. So you can get it on Amazon, but if you'd like us to buy the book for you and just get it for shipping costs.
Don't give Amazon any of the money. How do they get it from you?
They get it from me for a lot cheaper. Just pay shipping at PHYSIOSecrets.com/book.
Awesome. And if there's somebody out there who is listening to this and goes, oh my God, I need help with my website, how do they get in touch with you or a member of your team?
Sure, totally. So you can shoot me personally an email. I'd love to hear from people at Christine, which is CHRISTINE. I know everybody wants to know how to spell my name. I've met 4 Christines while I'm here, and I think we all spell it slightly different.
Nice.
And at PHYSIOSecrets.com. We're also on social media everywhere, on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Come friend me on Facebook. Shoot me a Facebook message. That may be the easiest way.
And I'll put your information in the details in the description below.
Thank
Christine, thank you so much for being on the show.
It's an honor.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to the PHYSIOMission podcast. If you haven't done so already, head over to PHYSIOSecrets.com and get your first masterclass for free. If you like this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. Let us know how we're doing. This is Dr. Cooper signing off. Until next time, fuel your passion, believe in your mission, and let nothing stand in your way.